Oscar confusion. An envelope disaster overshadows a historic night for the all-black cast film Moonlight. A huge fire guts down Somalia's Bakara market, killing at least 2 people and destroying property worth millions. And bipartisan calls continue for an independent probe of Russia's efforts to impact last year's U.S. presidential elections. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Now, it was an incredible night at the Oscars in Hollywood. There was plenty of glitz, glamour, and drama. The African-American coming-of-age film Moonlight was named Best Picture, but not before film legend Warren Beatty initially announced the musical La La Land was the winner by mistake. Now, the stunning gaffe temporarily caused confusion on the stage and before a worldwide television audience. Moonlight became the first film with an all-black cast to win the Academy Award for Best Picture. VOA's Mike O'Sullivan has more on the epic night.
A romantic musical, La La Land earned awards for production design, original score, and original song. Emma Stone earned the Oscar for Best Actress, and director Damien Chazelle was named Best Director. La La Land was announced as Best Picture, but that was a mistake. In a quick reversal, the Oscar for Best Picture really went to Moonlight, a coming-of-age tale of a gay black man.
Can't let nobody make that decision for you.
Moonlight co-star Mahershala Ali was named Best Supporting Actor, and the film earned an Oscar for Adapted Screenplay, 1 year after the Oscars were criticized for a lack of diversity. Viola Davis was named Best Supporting Actress for the drama Fences. The Best Actor Oscar went to Casey Affleck for the wrenching drama Manchester by the Sea. Iranian director Asghar Farhadi, who won the Oscar for foreign language film for The Salesman, did not attend the ceremony in protest of the Trump administration's immigration policies. The Oscars, often state affairs, had some drama this year and a surprise ending. Mike O'Sullivan, VOA News, Los Angeles.
Well, later on, Africa 54 will have more on the most embarrassing moment in the history of the Academy Awards. On VOA's Anastasia Tudisha joins us live from our Los Angeles studio. Well, now to East Africa and a much more serious story. A massive fire in Somalia has destroyed large parts of Mogadishu's main market on Monday, killing 3 people, including 2 children, and wounding several others. Police official Adam Mohammed says the blaze began early in the morning, sending thick plumes of smoke billowing over the Somali capital as flames engulfed market stalls whose hodgepodge placement made it difficult for firefighters to contain the inferno. It is unclear what caused the blaze. Initial reports say it was caused by a fire stove, while other sources indicated there had been an electrical fault. Well, meanwhile, according to Reuters, a car bomb was triggered in Mogadishu, wounding at least 3 people. So far, it's not clear who was responsible for the blast. Now, for more on the fire and bombing in Mogadishu, I'm joined by VOA Somali reporter Mohammed Orland. Mohammed, let's first begin with this fire. What more do you know about the fire at Bakara Market?
Well, according to the Somali police chief in Mogadishu, he says the fire started in the middle of a gold market in Somali capital Mogadishu, which is part of Bakara Market, and then it spread through the market by heavy winds that have been blowing in the capital overnight and this morning.
Now, there are markets all over Africa, but tell us what this market means to the people of Somalia.
Well, this is the largest in some business community call it the largest in East Africa, and Somalia is the largest and the biggest market. It is the whole hub of Somali economy. We can say it is the heart of Somali economy. Almost all major companies in Somalia have bases in this market. And most Western media remember the market. It was the stronghold of Al-Shabaab militants when they were fighting against the Somali government. Yeah, used to control it when they were fighting against Somali government forces and the African Union in 2011. So it shows that the market has a significance.
So first, there is a question of this is where people in Mogadishu get all their wares from food to other items, but also there's a big dimension of the, taxes for the government, right?
Yeah, now for the government, although it doesn't impose a lot of tax on this market, and businessmen always deal with the government separately rather than paying tax in public, because the government hasn't started collecting tax from the people. But the market has a significance for the government because it's the economy of the country. It controls the exchange of market. If there's any inflation, or if there's any food price rocketing, this is the market that controls. So the businessmen in this market control it rather than the government. So it's something that the whole economy of Somalia, whenever somebody wants to talk about the Somali economy, this is where to go. It also hosts the Somali telecommunication companies, the biggest in one of the biggest in East Africa, and the most sophisticated. So this market has a significance, and I'm sure that according to the geographical area where the fire was swept through, millions of dollars were lost in this fire.
But now again, one other aspect is that it was very difficult for firefighters to get in. Is that something that perhaps has ever concerned officials, that the way it is built, it's hard to save lives and to put out fires?
Well, all Somalis who businessmen have been converging into this market for a long time, since the collapse of Mohammed Siad Barre. So everybody built along the roads, along the bigger streets where firefighters could use. So they left alleys and very narrow roads that could prevent firefighters to go inside and put the fire out. And former government has tried to clear all these major roads, but they failed because of the power of the businessmen there, and they have been pouring a lot of money into this area. So it's very difficult for the government to clear major roads unless they compensate to the businessmen who have been building these high-rise buildings, business stores, all these big business places. So it's difficult for the government to vacate or to ask people to vacate all these major roads.
We're happy that not too many people were killed. Now, quickly talk about the blast today. Now, people are also scared in Mogadishu today from a blast.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. There was a car chase. The police forces were chasing a car after they suspected it. And then during the chase, the driver of the car tried to open fire on the government forces, and he wounded 3 government soldiers, and then the car ran away, speed away towards the Mogadishu's outskirts, where the government forces intercepted, and then it blew itself up. The guy who was driving the car escaped from the scene, and 3 other government soldiers were wounded.
Again, we're happy that lives were spared. Thanks a lot, Mohammed, for joining us today.
Thank you.
That's Mohammed Olad, who is a reporter with VOA's Somali service. Not too far from there, a dire situation is ongoing in South Sudan. Thousands of families caught up in a famine are hiding from marauding gunmen in the swamps and islands of the River Nile, many of them surviving on a diet of water lily roots and the occasional fish. Last week, the United Nations declared that parts of the nation are experiencing famine, the first time the world has faced such a catastrophe in 6 years. Many families have not eaten for days. A crowd of 20,000 people emerged from the swamps and assembled at the rebel-held village of Tonyor in Lear County when they heard the UN was registering people for emergency rations. Some families received fishing nets and brought from aid workers to keep them going until food arrived.
They've been living on water lilies. They've been living on roots from reeds in the rivers. At most they eat once a day. It's really tough conditions, and we hope that our regular and consistent humanitarian support in this area will be able to serve these people.
Well, the UN says some 5.5 million people, nearly half the population, will not have a reliable source of food by July. Well, the furor in Europe over U.S. President Donald Trump's travel ban on citizens from 7 majority Muslim states has overshadowed a reservoir of public support for such measures in Europe. That's according to a poll by London Policy Institute Chatham House. As Henry Ridgewell reports from Dresden, Germany, the poll indicated support for ending Muslim immigration averaged 55% across 10 European countries.
Bilal al-Nazir was among the 1.1 million asylum seekers who came to Germany in 2015 after fleeing Damascus when his home was bombed. Shrapnel is still embedded in his head.
I go to doctor in hospital, and I need operation in my hand here. And after that, I go into school for learning Deutsch.
While he awaits the operation, Bilal is getting help from a charitable group to find a job.
Die genau das fördern sollen. Aber jetzt ist es am gesellschaftlichen Engagement.
The federal and state governments have put in place programs to look at how Germany can benefit from the refugees. They are serving the primary needs: language classes, a roof over their heads, and food on the table. Now they need to enable engagement with the local society. Dresden does not appear to welcome such engagement. It is the birthplace of the Pegida movement, patriotic Europeans against Islamization of the West. Every Monday, supporters march through the city. Guest speaker this week is Renate Sandvoss of Journalist Watch, which claims German media is covering up immigration problems.
Muslim culture, and I say it in quote marks because to me it is not culture, is totally different than the German culture and simply does not fit in here.
Many Germans agree. In the Chatham House survey, 53% said they want all migration from Muslim countries halted.
When this movement was born more than 2 years ago, the organisers hoped that it would spread across Germany and beyond to the rest of Europe. But so far, that hasn't happened.
There is a good reason why, says Dresden University professor Werner Patzelt.
To put it quite clearly, Pegida is more successful than it has ever been, only under a different label, because AfD is Pegida. AfD is Pegida as a political party.
AfD, the Alternative for Germany party, could become the third largest party in elections scheduled for September. It is one of several far-right parties in Europe feeding off concerns over immigration.
We won't be able to stop immigration. We won't be able to make sure that there is something like a fair distribution of migrants throughout Europe. So this is really a problem at the heart of the European integration process.
However, the latest polls show support for the AfD party is falling. Global uncertainty will likely lead German voters to put economic stability ahead of immigration, analysts say, and Germany's challenge will be to make the migrants part of that economic future. Henry Ridgewell for VOA News, Dresden, Germany.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. And also check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vincent Makori. Coming up, bipartisan calls continue for an independent probe of Russia's efforts to impact last year's U.S. presidential elections. Stay with us.
News and notes. This is Living Better.
Tobacco use. It's a key risk factor for heart attacks, strokes, cancers, and other chronic diseases, which together account for 60% of all deaths worldwide. Enter electronic cigarettes. They provide the nicotine that smokers want, and many consider them to be safe because e-cigarettes don't deliver other toxic compounds found in tobacco. But little is yet known about their long-term safety. In one recent small study, researchers at the University of California at Los Angeles found that e-cigarette users were subject to more frequent changes in heart rate, demonstrating high levels of adrenaline. The e-smokers also had something called oxidative stress, which put them at risk for narrowing and hardening of the arteries and increased risk for cardiovascular disease. I'm Martin Seacrest for VOA's Living Better.
Welcome back. In Washington, bipartisan calls are growing for an independent probe of Russian efforts to impact last year's U.S. election and any ties between Moscow and President Donald Trump's inner circle. VOA's Michael Bowman reports the White House is trying to fend off the escalating controversy as the president prepares for his first speech to Congress.
We've lost a lot of our best jobs to other countries, In his weekly address Saturday, President Donald Trump previewed the economic message he will deliver Tuesday.
We're going to be working to bring back those jobs, and I mean really good paying jobs.
But major distractions persist, including Russia.
We need to investigate their activities, and we need to do it because they are bad people.
Long-serving Republican Congressman Darrell Issa joined Democrats in calling for a special prosecutor insulated from Attorney General Jeff Sessions, a close Trump confidant.
Jeff Sessions, who was on the campaign and who is an appointee. You're going to need to use the special prosecutor's statute and office to take, not just to recuse, you can't just give it to your deputy.
We're extremely confident that whatever review, they're all going to come to the same conclusion that we had no involvement in this.
The White House says it is time to move on.
At some point, we get to a place where we've got to move on and start focusing on the things that the American people care about. And I don't think this is it. We've talked about it time and time and time again, asked and answered.
But Democrats are not letting go.
The Attorney General must recuse himself. Let's have the investigation and find out the truth.
Several Republican-led congressional committees are already probing Russian activities.
Let's see how it plays out. I think that's a deliberative process is the appropriate way to proceed.
However investigations unfold, Trump is not hiding his anger about a controversy that refuses to die or the news media's coverage of it. Michael Bowman, VOA News, Washington.
In his first month in office, President Donald Trump has promised significant action to amend existing policy on health care, immigration, among other areas. But he'll need help from U.S. state leaders to make those changes happen. In Washington on Sunday, the president talked to state governors to get their views on how the White House and Congress should approach these issues. VOA's Elizabeth Chenef reports.
What I want to say to each one of you is the door is open in the West Wing to America's governors.
From the White House, a pledge to work together with state leaders who gathered in Washington to discuss the concerns facing their towns and cities. On the topic of immigration, leaders from both parties acknowledged the difficulties of fixing a system that is often seen as complex and difficult to navigate.
It's not just a matter of building fences and walls around the border for border security. It's also making sure, in my view, that the gate works, how people can come and go, how they can come and visit, how they can come and stay, get work visas.
We all want to keep our communities safe. However, we cannot trample on due process and civil liberties. What it does, it will drive people underground. They won't seek health care, they won't work with law enforcement, and they won't invest. And I'm worried in Virginia that this could hurt our economy.
Proposed changes to the Affordable Care Act also have leaders in some states concerned about health care costs.
Our interest as governors is to make sure there is affordable health care that is patient-centered, that is affordable, that's available to people.
Addressing the governors, the president repeated a promise he made on the campaign trail.
Most of you know the Obamacare has had tremendous problems. It doesn't work, but we're going to have it fixed, and we're going to repeal and replace.
The annual conference of state leaders also serves as a learning tool going forward. Scott Pattison spoke to VOA via Skype.
With 50 states, 5 territories in the District of Columbia, you have a lot of opportunity for experimentation and innovation, and then sharing what worked, what doesn't work among the states, and then hopefully learning from each other as to what policies really do provide the results that you want, like better health care outcomes.
All state leaders will lay out their policy visions on Monday with the president and congressional leaders at the White House. Elizabeth Cherneff, VOA News, Washington.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, actress Viola Davis gets her big night at the Oscars after a long and illustrious career and 3 Oscar nominations. We'll be right back.
How do you see the world?
I see countries in turmoil.
I see our planet changing.
I see people at peace.
No matter how you see the world, you'll get an unbiased and uncensored view of it on Voice of America, on television, radio, online and mobile, in more than 40 languages all day, every day. Millions of people tune us in.
How do I see the world? On Voice of America.
I wanted to present music and a side of American culture that is most important to me, that is a part of who I am. They're going to get some incredible performances. That's one of the things I love, bringing these artists in so you can get to see them do what they do. It's soul music, and that's what music is. It's that which comes from the soul.
Welcome back. It was a big night for actress Viola Davis, who won an Oscar in the category for Best Supporting Actress. A crowning achievement comes after a long and illustrious career of numerous awards and 3 Oscar nominations. Our win also highlights Hollywood's growing interest in complex minority characters. Viewers Penelope Pulu has more.
For me to admit that I've been standing in the same place for 18 years?
Well, I've been standing with you. I got a life too. Don't you think I had dreams and hopes?
In Fences, Viola Davis plays Rose, the introspective wife who stands by her man, aware of his imperfections. She perseveres next to him, not with deference, but with dignity.
I told him if he wasn't a mankind, then move out the way so the mankind could find me.
She's the balancing act between her explosive husband and her brooding son, and when her philandering husband, played by Denzel Washington, brings home a baby, she accepts it not because she has to, but because she chooses to. This is not the first time Davis fleshes out complex roles, but her Oscar win underscores the movie industry's new trend to create three-dimensional African-American characters. Another example is Mahershala Ali's awarded performance as Juan, a drug dealer in a poor Miami neighborhood in the indie drama Moonlight. Juan finds himself taking care of a boy abandoned by his own mother, a drug addict. In this role, Mahershala Ali is both criminal and nurturer.
You're in the middle of the world.
I don't think it's an issue of there's more films representing Black experience in America. I think it's great films that represent a Black experience that are being pushed to the fore finally and being recognized.
Giovanna Chesler is director of the film school at George Mason University. She says this recognition was years in the making.
Audiences were starving for stories like that, but David Oyelowo and Ava DuVernay laid the groundwork for this moment.
Filmmaker Ava DuVernay, who made the film drama Selma 3 years ago, and David Oyelowo, who starred as Martin Luther King Jr., did not win accolades then, but their work has passed into the annals of great acting and movie making.
We're not asking, we're demanding. Give us the vote!
And action!
Now, DuVernay, who also directed the acclaimed documentary 13th about incarceration in America, has been tapped by Disney Studios to direct a big-budget fantasy drama.
I go out of here every morning, I bust my butt because I like you.
And then there is Oscar winner Denzel Washington. A class of his own, he has for years been part of Hollywood's mainstream, but still tries to push the envelope with contentious characters and projects. He directed and adapted August Wilson's theater play Fences for the big screen and portrays Rose's conflicted husband, Troy.
Who is Troy?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
He doesn't know. You know, he's working it out. I mean, that's why it's a great drama, because there's drama, because all the questions aren't answered when the curtain goes up.
And who hasn't loved the film hit Hidden Figures, the heartwarming drama about 3 African-American women who helped NASA in the 60s send the first American into space and then on the moon?
Just on our way to work at NASA, sir.
I had no idea they hired.
There are quite a few women working in the space program.
The movie has won the hearts and minds of fans, a reminder that audiences crave stories with non-formulaic characters in unconventional situations. When these characters and stories win, we all do, because such narratives become the catalyst of equality in popular culture. Penelope Pulu, VOA News, Washington.
But for more on the drama-filled night of the Oscars in Hollywood, joining us via phone from Los Angeles, California, is VOA's Anastasia Tudishe. Anastasia, what a night it was.
What a night. Let me start, Vincent, by saying this. Someone must have been fired as we're talking or is in deep trouble. Picture this. This is the Oscars, and we are maybe 10 minutes to the end, and the most anticipated moment is about to arrive. We are about to discover what is the best film of the year. And this award will be presented by huge stars, Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway. They come on stage, are applauded, everybody's cheering them. That's a party. Warren Beatty opens the envelope, looks at the results, looks confused, looks at Faye Dunaway, and let her say start the drama. And Faye Dunaway, they announce best film of the year, La La Land.
I'm telling you.
The whole team comes on stage, everybody's happy, cheering, and a few seconds after, we hear that.
It's unbelievable. It's heartbreaking. Now, Anastasia, before we run out of time, just talk about also what else was happening on stage. Those kind of, you wonder, was there a lot of more politics or the usual, or what we should be seeing about just the celebrities talk about the drama?
Vincent, that was the question that was in everybody's mind. Will it be a glam night or a politics night? It was both, and in a very balanced way. From Jimmy Kimmel, in the middle of the show, in the middle of the ceremony, asking President Trump if he's up because he was worried that the president hasn't tweeted yet about the ceremony, to I would say that 1 out of 2 artists on stage took a political statement. They did it in a very composed and very glamorous way, so to speak, but they still did it. I'm thinking about Gael Garcia Bernal, who said that as a Mexican, as an actor, as an immigrant actor, he was against any wall that would divide people, but he was not the only one.
Well, there's no question it was a night that did not disappoint in many other ways. Anastasia, thank you very much for joining us today. Anastasia Tudishe joining us live from by phone from Los Angeles in California. And that's our show for today. Now be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching from all of us in Washington. Have a good night.
Hi, this is VOA Khmer Resay Poch. I'm in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, and you're watching VOA. Go to facebook.com/VOA Khmer and join our growing fan club.
Welcome to English in a Minute. A plate is a dish that you put your food on.
Have a lot on your plate.
Hey, Anna, I'm having a party this weekend. You should come.
I wish I could, but my weekend is really busy. I'm baking a wedding cake, writing my article, teaching 2 classes, and my parents are visiting.
Wow, you have a lot on your plate.
I do. To have a lot on your plate means that you are dealing with many responsibilities or problems at one time. Imagine a plate being so full that it cannot fit any more food on it. Someone who has a lot on their plate is very busy, maybe too busy. And that's English in a Minute.